Hey, what's up, gals and slaps to those drunkard womanizers out there? Well, just don't take me seriously. I was just kidding. I too fall into that category of the drunkard womanizers. That was a bad joke again. So, anyways, before I eat up your head with the nonsense that's cooking up in my mind, let's quickly move on to the astrological topic that we're gonna take up in this episode. So, in this episode, like I promised, that I'll be back with the houses. We are gonna study the seventh house in Vedic astrology today. And in order to study the houses, like I have been already telling you over the sixth house episode series, that we got to take into consideration the Vedic theory, and when that if you're familiar with that Vedic theory, half the job is done there and there itself. So let's bring up the chart and study that Vedic theory. Well, this is the chart. This is a normal Vedic chart, and this particular marked section, if you can see, this represents the seventh house in a person's horoscope. And the counting of the houses always begins from the first house itself. We start the counting. This is the first house, second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house, sixth house, seventh house. So this is the seventh house in Vedic astrology. And in order to study the seventh house, we will have to take into consideration the eighth house. And that Vedic theory states that whenever you take any house into consideration and count 12 places from that particular house, then the house that you reach to represents the qualities or the attributes that are totally different or in non-compliance with the house from which we had started the counting. Or you can say it the either way, that the house that we reach to represents the qualities that are totally in non-compliance with the house that we took into consideration. So here, for studying the seventh house, we will take the eighth house into consideration and count 12 places from the eighth house, and let's see where do we reach to. So as I told you, the counting always begins in the anti-clockwise direction. So it's like the opposite of the clock. So we'll start counting from the eighth house and let's see where do we reach. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, we have counted 12 places, and we have reached the seventh house, which was our main purpose. So half the job is done here and here itself. So if we apply that similar Vedic theory over here, then it states that seventh house in Vedic astrology is not equal to the eighth house, or eighth house is not equal to the seventh house. You say it either way, the literal meaning remains the same. So for studying the seventh house in Vedic astrology, we will have to take into consideration what is the eighth house in Vedic astrology. Well, the eighth house in Vedic astrology is the house of tumult, upheaval. That one day you are up there, one day you are down there, one day again you rise up, then again you fall. So this is the kind of that turbulences and the upheavals that are seen from the eighth house in Vedic astrology. And eighth house in Vedic astrology represents circumstances that one day you are up there shining like a star in the sky, and the next day you are operating deep down within that dirty gutter. Eighth house is something which represents that when the dasha of the eighth lord or the planet placed in the eighth lord comes in, then although you were a healthy, hearty person before that, but suddenly when this eighth dasha lord kicked in, you were diagnosed. You were suddenly, like an upheaval, you were diagnosed with something like an incurable or gruesome disease like cancer or AIDS. Or it could even be the other way around, that throughout that life you had been suffering from that cancer or an incurable disease like AIDS. Finally that dasha of that eighth lord came in, and although you had been told by the doctors that this disease is incurable, you met but it could be possible that you got cured of it, and it could be your body got rejuvenated by itself, or it could be you came in touch with a doctor who had invented a cure for AIDS or cancer. You could meet up a guru who could teach you meditation or some other techniques that might cure that so labeled incurable disease by the doctors. And what else? Eighth house represents the events like one day you are so unlucky that you are not even sure of the fact. You are financially so impoverished and downtrodden, that you are not even sure of the fact that whether you will be able to afford the meal for the next day. And suddenly what happens when this 8th house thing comes in, and or the 8th house dasha period comes in, or the dasha or period of the planet placed in the 8th house comes in, then what might happen is that you might crack a jackpot or win a lottery, or there might be an occasional windfall of money that made you very rich and famous. So you might be like that, one day I was down there on the streets, and then today I am coming to this Shangri-La, Taj Palace, Mercedes or a Hilton to dine in a 5-star or the 7-star in BMW or any of those luxury cars. So this is the kind of energy that is seen in the 8th house. So like I told you that the 8th house is totally opposite to the 7th house. So 7th house in astrology is kind of a, unlike the 8th house, it is kind of a very balanced, it's kind of a very balanced house, it's very balanced in outlook. This house represents the people who are very positive, who are very balanced in their outlook towards life. What else? It could be 8th house is called the house of rebirth. 8th house, there's a misconception. Many people consider 8th house to be the house of death. No, it's not the house of death. In fact, 8th house is the house of rebirth. That is, after death, it's the house of rebirth. It's the house of after death experiences. It's the house of, what do I say? Like, it's called the house of rebirth because like 8th house is totally opposite to the 2nd house. So 2nd house was the house of wealth, like I told you, that is your own wealth. While the 8th house is, while the 8th house represents the wealth that comes from your in-laws, from your partnerships. So what could happen is that suddenly you got married. You were an impoverished person. Suddenly you got married, and yours became a rags to riches story. I hope you must have occasionally come across people who suddenly got all together to a different heights after they married somebody. So it could be the money that came in the form of the dowry, or any financial help from your in-laws after you got married, or it could be the fact that you got married to a girl who could understand you, who could analyze your personality, who could maneuver your talent in the right direction, and it is her faith in you that gives you the ability to face the challenges of life. While she may be a homemaker, she may not be financially helping you, but she instills in you, she spurs you, she brings out that kind of a ignition in you, that you start believing in yourself, and you are out there to conquer the world, and suddenly you become rich. Or it could be the fact that like you could marry a woman who could be financially very sound, while you might be good at marketing. So both of you thought that if we both people start up an enterprise of ours, start up a shared enterprise wherein you take care of the finances of the company and I take care of the marketing thing, then we could become a lethal combination that is very hard to encounter in this modern day age and era, because it's not marketing alone not going to do anything, neither finance going to survive without marketing. So let's club in, let's leverage on each other's strengths, start up a company, and suddenly you find that you started up with a small enterprise which turned into an MNC, into a multi-crore company in a very small time. Or it could be the either way around. You must have seen people whose life totally takes a U-turn after marriage. Theirs is a instead of a rags to riches story, there is a riches to rags story. So they could end up meeting a person who might be a spendthrift, or he or she might emotionally bring this person down. There is a lot of chaos in the marriage. There are ego battles or something of that sort, that the relationship or the wealth thing, especially the wealth thing, doesn't flourish in that relationship. The in-laws were not supportive, and the things like that can be seen. So 8th house is called the house of rebirth. That is wherein you are dissolved and you are now in partnerships. So the success in partnerships is seen from the 8th house, especially the wealth aspect. That is why it is called the house of rebirth and the past life experiences. And even people who are dominant 8th house personalities, they are kind of very mysterious. Like I told you that it's the house of past life experiences. So people who are very mysterious, psychic healers, people like that can be seen from the 8th house. So unlike the 8th house of rebirth and past life experiences, 7th house is the house of death. Yes, it's the 7th house, that the house of the death, not the 8th house. And why 7th house is the house of death? Because 7th house is exactly opposite the first house, and first house carries the energy of the sign that was rising up in the eastern horizon at the time of our birth. So if the first house represents our birth, opposite the first house that represents our birth is the 7th house. So it represents our death. And 7th house is also, like I told you, is the house of partnerships. In the 6th house episode, I told you that 7th house is the house of partnerships, and the partnerships could be either good or bad. So 7th house can also be there to teach you the lessons of life through partnerships. So it also represents the darker side of our unions. It could represent divorce, it could represent the lawsuits, it could represent that partnership of yours turning into a hatred or an animosity. And when you have enemies, then they can inflict on you any kind of trouble, or they may even murder you. So it's the 7th house from which we see the death aspect. Then coming on to professions. Well, like I told you that 8th house is a very secretive house. 8th house is Eighth house is the house that represents the people who are operating or working behind the scenes. Astrologers, occultists, and people working in the research labs in a very secluded environment, away from the hustle and bustle of the world. It could represent 8th house people could represent the miners who go deep down the earth thing, and to find the coal, to find the diamonds and the things like that. 8th house could represent sea divers, that is going beneath the sea, deep down into the ocean. So these are the people that are working behind the scenes, and they do not like coming in front into the open. And so unlike as 7th house is totally opposite to the 8th house, 7th house represents people who are out there in the open, market, interacting with people one after the other. They want to sign the deals with the people which will help them flourish. I had already discussed this in the 6th house episode, that 7th house is all about that partnerships, meeting people, striking the one-to-one conversation with them, and striking the business deals that may bring them the mutual benefit. 7th house is all about leveraging on each other's, like making a mutual coordination, and leveraging with the other people, leveraging this with the strengths of the other people, starting up a partnership of any sort, be it be a partnership of friendship, be it be a partnership of marriage, be it be a business partnership. So whenever you are, the 7th house is the house when you are open. And even 7th house, although I have not discussed the 10th house, but if you count 10 places from the 7th house, we would reach at the 7th house, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 places from the 10th house, and 10th house is the house of career, job. 10th house represents things which 10th house is opposite the 4th house. So this is the fact where we are. 10th house represents things that we do when we come out of our house, that is job and a career. And 7th house is 10th from the 10th house. So 7th house is the house of career, is also the secondarily considered house for job, career, when we are out there in the open, striking deals with people, unlike the 8th house people who work behind the scenes. Then what? Secret relationships. Well, that's interesting. Well, eighth house, I told you, is the house of the people who operate behind the scenes. Then from eighth house is also the house of sexual alliances. That is the intimate union that takes place behind the eyes of the other people. Behind, you are secluded from the rest of the world, of course. I mean, pornos are the different things, but whenever you are making that intimate session, most of the time you are away from the eyes of the rest of the world. And what else does the eighth house? And even the eighth house represents the secret relationships. Like you could marry someone. You could marry someone who is from a different caste, creed, or color. Or your relationship, or you keep your relationship very, very, very secretive kind. That is, you might be dating a girl, but for the world, you both may be perceived as singles. So it is something that you hide from the world. For example, you may marry a girl from the different caste, creed, or color, or you may marry a girl twice your age. You may marry a girl. You might be a very rich person and might marry a very poor girl. You might marry somebody who is sickly and debilitated, or things of that sort, because you know that you are doing something, that when you are marrying a sickly or a debilitated person, when you are marrying a person who you know is going to just survive for 10 to 20 years, when you are marrying a person just because you want that wealth of that person, or just because you love that person, yours is a besotted kind of a love, which is beyond the realm of comprehension of the other people, that why this good looking guy is marrying a poor girl like that. So you kind of hide that relationship from the other people. So eighth house represents these secret relationships, while unlikely, the seventh house is the house that represents the partnerships or the marriage, business partnerships or the marriage that are very transparent in nature. So in the seventh house, you are out there in the market, you are interacting with others, you are striking a deal with the people. And let's suppose you strike a deal with somebody, start up a business enterprise with this unknown guy you struck a business deal with. Then either it's your company's logo, either it's your company's name, or your manufacturing unit, or your office premises, wheresoever your company is operating from. That is a physical entity that is known to the people, that is there registered in the corporate in the corporate arena, in the corporate offices, and it's something that is very legal and known to people. And seventh house represents marriage. And whenever you marry somebody, if you're going for the court marriage, then you are registering yourself, you're signing those documents, and and actually you're authorizing your marriage. You are legitimately making that marriage as a mutual entity. Or you could throw up a reception party, or a ceremonial wedding, and you could invite people. So you are actually telling the world that from now onwards I am formally in a union with this person who I am marrying, unlike the eighth house people who keep it very secretive. What else? Bad house. Okay, now eighth house is considered to be a bad house. However, its literal meaning has changed in today's times, because actually it's called a bad house because originally this house is controlled by Mars, since it has the energy of Scorpio into it. But the co-ruler of this planet is Ketu. And what does Ketu stand for? Ketu stands for liberation. Ketu stands for shunning the material pursuits of life. Ketu stands for moksha, liberation, where you are not interested in any kind of a wealth, sex, greed for anything. It's a planet of occult. So this house, any planet considered placed in this house, is kind of hard to deal with, because they are upheavals, and the original owner, the secondary owner of this house other than Mars is Ketu, which is a very tough planet to deal with. But the literal meaning of it has changed in today's. Now today you can see people who are working behind the scenes, like directors, film directors, or like I said, the occultists, the astrologers, the people who are operating in the mining industry, the people who are sea divers. So all those people can also come up with and researchers also. So these people can also come up with research or some kind of a very revolutionary inventions or discoveries that might make them that might earn them the Hall of Fame all of a sudden. But it's kind of a very that house that represents working behind the scenes, while seventh house is considered to be when you are out there in the market, when the whole of the community knows you, when you are striking with the deals with the other people in order to move up ahead the ladder in the financial sphere. So seventh house, whenever the period of the seventh house or the planet placed in the, whenever the period of the seventh lord or the period of the planet that is placed in the seventh house comes in, then it can bring you, what do I say, it can bring you a lot of name, fame and reputation, because you are into the open all out of those 24 hours, 12 hours you are working, you are out there in the open. So this is the kind of energy we can actually see from the seventh house. So guys, we are completed with the part 1 astrology of the 8th house of the 7th house episode, and I'll soon be uploading this part 2 of the 7th house astrology. So for those of you who like me, please do subscribe to my channel if you see me again, and till then, stay well, stay healthy, do good work, try to find out the purpose of your life, stay healthy, and do good deeds. So this is your host Rishu signing off. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Till then, goodbye, namaste from India. Take care.